In today's video, I will be taking a look at crypto to buy now, or crypto that is very, very close to reversal in my opinion. This is actually something that we asked the community over during our AMA with our Patreon members yesterday, but also a question that I put out into our Discord server today, which is just asking our Patreon members, I'll be doing an altcoin video. What altcoins do you want me to cover in this particular video? So in this, I actually have got myself a list of about 22 cryptocurrency assets that I'm going to review in this video. I'm trying to get through as many as I can. Okay, I probably will not touch on all 22, but I'll get through as many as I can as well. But if you want to see more videos like this, do me two massive favors. First of all, hit the like button, really appreciate that. And second, let me know what altcoins you want me to cover in the comments down below. Okay, let's get things started off with Gala. We actually did cover Gala in our live AMA last night. However, the screen sharing wasn't quite working, so I thought I would cover it again here in this particular video. So what we were talking about yesterday with Gala specifically is this move to the downside, right? It's a 335 correction. We're currently in a fourth wave that I see here at the moment, and we are looking at bringing that back down ever so slightly lower. So I'm just going to zoom in on this 5-wave move, just as we can kind of see here now. What we have got is a 5-wave move just coming inside of our potential third wave, and this is because we've got a 5-3-5, and this being an extension, I am expecting it to pull back down. Then we'll go into a fourth wave, and then potentially a fifth wave down lower afterwards. Okay, so there's a couple of different things that are going on here. This fourth wave up at the moment, it actually looks like it may have completed, and our fifth wave may also have been completed a little bit on the shallow side though. So we're still potentially tracking this final fifth wave coming down lower. It might not actually be finished just yet. So we are watching that for Gala here. Since that surge upwards here, we could argue that that has actually completed our fourth wave of the micro wave counts, and then we're looking to just pull back down. Now, we don't actually have a set target for this exactly because the wave counts are not perfect at the moment, but I would estimate that our first fifth wave low would put us somewhere between 6.465 and 6.685. okay, and then we had a more of a second degree fourth wave move upwards. Okay, and again we would expect this to be probably a 382% retracement from our entire move of this this section here, right? So if I were to grab hold of this wave one down to our low, let's just take it from the lowest possible point, then we'll probably be talking about a push up towards 7.3. okay, and again, if we were to speculate on that being our low at 6465 and we go up to 7383, then we would anticipate that our low point for our final fifth wave would put us right down here at about 5.9 cent. Okay, so there's a couple of things that are going on here. It seems more complicated than it actually is. Essentially, I am expecting us to pull down, although volatility is still currently, being expected within this range, but I'm expecting about 6.465 to 6.6, and then from there we move on up to about 7.385, and then from there we finally have the bottom created at about 5.9. okay, so that's kind of what I'm expecting on Gala, but really hard to know 100% without first actually getting some of these moves in. But this is looking like a 353, and because of the extension and the level of the depth of this, I would expect it to be a 535.35, so basically completing us an entire 5-wave move, moving down from this bounce up here. So essentially, we came down all the way down at 4.9. We moved on up, and then we're basically looking at this 335 correction, and then we'll look for that move up. Now, if we do come down as low as 5.9, then I am expecting a 14.4 surge upwards to complete the corrective pattern, which again might be impulsive in its nature. We have got 5 waves this side, so we might end up, we should end up with 5 waves coming up here. So an impulsive structure after this 5-wave structure coming down. And if we actually get an overextensions and we move up to 25 cent, then actually that puts us in a much stronger position to think about maybe an impulsive structure upwards, and the bottom being found down here at 4.9. So once we go lower than 4.9, we should be pretty okay on Gala. So let me move on to the next altcoin. This is another one that came up during our live AMA with our Patreon members yesterday, which was Engine. We didn't get around to doing this one on the live AMA, so I'm going to include it here. So basically this one, we are still tracking very similar moves, right? We got this, if I just zoom out here, 5-wave structure. It's again a 3-3-5 structure. Now I haven't got mapped out all the subwave counts. I think we're in this 4th wave at the moment, and there is a possible move higher here. Okay, and so it is possible that under this structure we've had 5 waves come up. We are in some kind of complex corrective move now, and we are still looking for those 5 waves. Very similar to Gala before we actually go ahead and pull back down. The only difference is I think we've actually kind of finished our 3rd wave down already, right? And we're actually in the 4th wave, whereas I don't think Gala's actually had that just yet. So essentially we are looking at this as a corrective play, and if I actually make this a little bit bigger, let me just zoom in here, what we can do is we can just adjust this to make it a little bit easier to read. We've got 5 waves coming up this side, which is pretty easy. Then we have this move here. I'm just going to class that as an A wave. This is a B wave, and this is a C wave. Looking for completion anywhere around here, and then we'll look to kind of move on up. Now, if we go ahead and measure the distance on this, just for our own sanity sake more than anything else, the 1-to-1 ratio has been hit. We're just a little bit north of the 1.236, and we could be looking at primed for a bit of a reversal. However, it's important that we understand that this is a potential move down here, that could be taking us a little bit deeper. So we just want to kind of review this position. We can see here that we have a clear structure, but we've got a lot of overlap, so it's not an impulsive. There's no 5-wave structures, anything like that. We are kind of following what the rest of the market is doing right here. I still expect maybe a little bit of volatility as we kind of just put in this triangular wedge pattern shape right inside here. You see we're getting things are getting tighter and tighter. So we'll either pull back down or finally get that break to the surge to the upside. I think for Bitcoin we are expecting more of a surge to the upside, but I'm still expecting volatility over the weekend. So nothing instantaneous here, but essentially that's kind of where we are right now. And ultimately, we are tracking those bigger moves, right? So we are thinking about completing this correction and then having 5 waves move on up, which would take us up a little bit further. So let me go ahead and actually just remove some of these noisy parts off the chart. And what I'll do is I will just grab hold of these 5 waves here, and we'll grab them on the low, transpose this over to the current lows that we've got this side. And it is indicating to us about 91 cents. I had this at $1, but it's about 91 cents. I do think that 83.7 is going to be major resistance, but I will just lower this down a fraction so we can actually take a look at this as it is today. So 93.1. So we have that run right there. And I'll just go ahead and remove that. I think 83.7 is going to be major resistance for us, so that's going to be an area to kind of watch out for. Ultimately, the subwave counts are going to be the deciding factor here, right? Wherever that 5th wave finally lands is going to be the top of this thing, and it's also possible that we just have a double top before we break down into the final 5th wave lows. Okay, the 5th wave lows are still targeted down here. This hasn't changed because we haven't gone higher than our 5th wave so far, but this would be subject to change if, of course, our 4th wave goes up higher. Okay, so this is basically targeting out 41.9 to 48.5 at the moment on the lower side, and that would be where I would be looking at doing my buys personally. Obviously, long term, we'll talk about that in a different video. This is all about kind of what to buy, where to buy it, in my opinion. But do remember, I'm not a financial advisor. I cannot offer you financial advice, and this should be treated as educational purposes only, understanding how I am mapping this out, which is why I talk about all the moves of what I'm doing here. But essentially, yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at, and for the most part, we are looking pretty good here for Engine, for some good accumulation points. Now, let's move on to the next one. We're going to talk about Rose. Again, this is one that came up during the AMA last night, but we didn't get around to actually doing too much on it, and as you can see here, we actually did pull back down. We completed that 5th wave low, and I actually completed it over here, but it's quite dragged out a little bit. But yeah, I'd actually say it's probably this one that's actually finished that. So we can kind of see this kind of mapping out and pulling back down. Now, what's really interesting about this is we obviously have a much deeper move. So I'm going to just tidy some of this up. I'm just going to remove some of the noise off here so we can see things a little bit clearer with how that is structuring out, right? Because we have this big 3-wave move down, 3-wave move up, and now we're in this impulsive structure, this being our 4th wave. Now, it is possible that we've already had the high with the double top scenario right here, and we've got the ABC structure, and then we're actually pulling back down, and we're looking to get those 5 waves low. So I'm going to show you that in a second. Essentially, I'm just going to map this out. So I think we've got this as our kind of wave 1 scenario. This is our wave 3, and then we're coming down into a wave 5 low. Okay, so for Rose, that's kind of what I'm looking at and where I think the opportunities are going to lie. But I would still expect some volatility in here, as Bitcoin is probably going to move up before pulling back down. And we've obviously spoken about that numerous times on the Bitcoin videos. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab hold of this level here. I'm going to throw in our high point. As you can see here, we almost hit a double top. It wasn't exactly a double top, but it's very, very close. We can also see that we are tracking this corrective pattern right here, so we could argue that that is done, and this could actually be the start of our 5-wave structure moving on down. Okay, so we've got a definitive move coming down and finishing here. We obviously have a couple also moves just to kind of acknowledge in this range here as well. So if I were to go ahead and measure this, and we grab hold of that, we move that over to there, we can see that this is actually probably our 4th wave. That's our that's our end of our 3rd wave, that's the end of our 4th wave, and that's our 5th wave. But we can kind of go ahead and just check these things as well, just for our own sanity's sake. And yeah, I would be quite happy to say that that's pretty much where I would expect it to be for this move. So, and what we could be looking at here is a much deeper 5th wave than maybe we were hoping for. But what we'll do is we'll actually go ahead and take this measurement before I go and map that out, so we can see the range that we are looking for. Okay, so there are ways that we can obviously get over extensions on this, but we should be cautious at this point. Okay, I'm going to leave that there, and then of course we've got this really deep 3rd wave move, and we can kind of see that, and because that looks like it's overextended in the way that it has done, I also want to just take the measurement of our wave 1. Okay, and the reason that I want to take this wave 1 measurement is because our 5th wave might just equal exactly our wave 1. Okay, and that would give us a slightly different target. So a couple of things to just kind of be mindful of here. Okay, so knowing this, what are we looking at? Well, I'm thinking that we've got a map here. Okay, we've got wave 1, wave 2, potentially wave 3 over here, wave 4 bouncing on up, but has crossed, so it could be an ending diagonal instead of a standard impulsive structure, and then a final 5th wave coming down. Now that looks like it might actually start to be coming towards a bit of a close, and the 1-to-1 ratio is pretty much where I'm thinking we might be wanting to keep a close eye on, at basically 52.96. That's going to be the range that I'm going to be thinking about. Now down here we still have the ability to say that our 5th wave low is down here between 41 and 49. However, based on the 3rd wave movements and the structure of this being potentially an ending diagonal, what we could do is actually take the measurement here for our 4th wave, and actually, yeah, right there you can see our 1.618 is pretty much exactly where our 1-to-1 ratio with our wave 1 would be. So I'd be really hyper focused on 52.96, or more specifically 53.0. As that is probably the more accurate way of measuring it. I've only just placed that on there. That one there seems to be the most one. So I'm just going to actually just go ahead and oh, that was bad. Let me come back here to Rose. Where is it? Here. Let me just go ahead and put that right there. So 53 cent flat. That's going to be the area that I'm going to be calling my 5th wave low. It's possible that we come down lower. So yeah, I'll be really focusing on that one though for Rose there. So I'm going to leave that one. I'm going to hopefully, we'll see that as a good reversal point for us, and then we can progress on from there. But let's go ahead now and take a look at the next coin, right? So ADA. ADA is actually following things quite nicely here. Not too much has actually changed in terms of this correction. We are still seeing this as a move upwards towards 74 cent. However, again, I've got real good focus here on our 60 cent range. Now, with that being said, though, it is possible that we've started our move down already. I just don't think that's the case. I see this as a 3-3-5 correction, 3 waves up, and now we've got 5 waves coming down, basically making this entire thing a 3-3-5, and then primed for a reversal, and again, targeting out 60 cent or so, and to create a double top scenario. Possible for 74, but I'm not hoping on that. I think we're probably going to hit the resistance around this area as we had done previously, and then kind of pull back down. All of this being towards our end of our corrective play, right? So if I zoom back up, a bit, you can kind of see that we have this structure, and we are targeting out down here at 30 cent, okay, and we're right in the middle of it. So what we're looking for is a significant bounce or sideways trade right inside here, that on a macro scale we can really see and kind of acknowledge. After that is done, I would expect this pullback to complete the C wave at a 1-to-1 ratio at approximately 30 cent, and I think that's going to be a fantastic buying opportunity for Cardano 𝗕𝗓. Essentially, we've got, you know, pretty good structure coming on down here, and it could be a zigzag pattern right inside this end one. So what we end up with is 5 waves move up, and then basically 5 waves more coming down. So moving up to 74 cent would actually tie up quite nicely with a 5-wave drop, but just be a little bit cautious that, you know, 30 cent is where I'm thinking, and there is a lot of institutional players also buying up some Cardano now. So you know, we want to be quite open to that. Now if I zoom in on this, we can see that we are tracking down in towards this kind of final 5th wave low. Okay, so all of that's working out quite nicely, and we're in some kind of wedge-shaped pattern right here. So again, you know, it's not really tracking brilliantly, but I think we could be starting the next wave down where we have this estimated out. Now, for this, what I'll do is, yeah, that's probably a wave 1. So if I go ahead and grab hold of that low point there, just throw that in. We are potentially going to end somewhere between 43 and 44 cent for this 5th wave low, but if we do end up with any overextensions, then it is possible that we come down lower straight away there, but for the most part that's kind of what we're looking at on that final 5th wave. Nothing too much more to really say about it. There's a couple other ways of targeting this. We can take the entirety of this move, move this over to that high point, and then we could be looking at maybe 41.78 at the kind of the worst end of the spectrum. So we'll keep an eye on those things, but for the most part, you know, we are finishing a 5th wave low. We will end up with reversal. We should see some form of recovery, but I still expect much deeper lows here on Cardano towards 30 cent, and I think that's going to be a fantastic buying opportunity before, you know, we start to see some significant growth. Obviously there's a lot going on with Cardano from a fundamental point of view, but that's really for a separate video. That's not really included here in the TA side of things. Just from my kind of price, I guess, targeting and prediction wise, Cardano 𝗕𝗓, I would expect to come down towards 30 cents slightly longer term, but we would expect some kind of bounce to occur anywhere really between that 43 and 44 cent range, and then move on up a little bit, and then pull back down. So again, you know, those higher targets are still valid, but the lower this goes, essentially the lower that target becomes. Really, I'm focused on 60 cent, creating a double top, and then a breakdown from there towards 30 cent personally. Let's jump on to the next altcoin, which is CRO. So CRO is tracking down into a 5th wave. It looks like the 5th wave has started. It's already gone down lower than the previous 5-wave move. So what we can do here is we can actually acknowledge that there was our high point. We have a pretty good kind of movement going on here. So we have this this low point, and we're moving back down. So there's not good wave counts inside here, right? It's not a definitive move, but I do see this as a pretty much a clear wave 4. So, you know, right in here we have this wedge shape pattern, and I'll zoom in on this in a second, just here, so you can see how we have that wedge shape. That's a typical wave 4. You can see these things quite frequently in wave 4 positions, and so therefore, you know, this is to me a pretty clear move that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 not quite overlapping, and then we end up with that 5th wave low. What's not clear is this starting section here. We've either got a really complicated correction from here, so we had like a 5-wave move down, and then some kind of like, you know, frustrating correction. I'm not sure quite what's going on there with that, but we have got this 5-wave drop. I would expect some kind of 3-wave move up, and then an additional 5-wave drop afterwards. And if we go ahead and measure this, we are targeting out about 15 cent to about 16 cent on this final 5th wave low here. So I just drop that there and just put a rectangular box right on that one. Okay, and then, you know, we move on up, and then we pull back down, you know, in some kind of finishing move overall. Now if we actually measure the distance on our chart here for this wave 4, this gives us an indication of where those lows should potentially be, and, you know, it's possible that that is the end, but yeah, I mean, it is possible, I guess, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense. But we do have a little bit of overlap here, right, between 14.7 and 15.9. So if we end up with this as a slight overextension, and this makes more sense as some kind of maybe ending diagonal. Again, they seem to be quite common at the moment. We bounce up, and then we just finishing it off like that. That's also possible. you know, but yeah, we'll keep an eye on it, right? We'll have to see how that kind of plays out. But yeah, that's kind of the spot that I'm looking at overall. At the moment for CRO, we are talking about 14.7 to 15.9. That's going to be the typical area that I'm looking at here for retracements on CRO. If that's your bag, if you're looking to maybe get one of the debit cards or whatever, and you're looking to accumulate some CRO for that, that's kind of what you're looking at there. Now let's take a look at 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗑. Everything here hasn't really changed. Very frustrating. We've actually got this move down here a little bit. So it's possible that we actually started this correction already. But I was hoping that we'd actually push up a little bit more. And this is a little bit more of a frustrating one, right? We've got this move coming up here, and I think, yeah, we probably have now finished this move, and I think our high was probably 6.2, I think. Yeah, 6.276. I think what this is actually looking like to me right now is a double bottom right here, and then a move up into that C there. And if I use the fib tool and I actually go ahead and measure this, and we grab this distance right here, we transpose that over to that low point, that double bottom, you can see that the 1-to-1 ratio was 6.5. We moved up to, as I said, 6.276, very, very close, but not quite the 1-to-1 ratio. And then we've pulled back down. Now we've lost this B wave low here, whilst also going up. So it is possible that we could count this differently. You could count it in a more bullish sentiment where we have that C wave as an A wave high. This is our B wave low, potentially come down a little bit lower, and then eventually surge back up again. Still possible scenario. Some kind of bounce will occur. But obviously breaking this down lower than this B wave, it does mean that we're either moving down into the final fifth wave lows, or we've got to move on up and then move back down later, okay? And obviously there's a couple of things here. If we go higher than 7.098, we are invalidating the fifth wave low, okay? So going higher would basically mean this is invalidated and we don't have a 5-wave structure going down. If, of course, we drop lower than 3.317, then we invalidate a macro third wave up on our daily chart. Okay, so we want to make sure that we stay above 3.317 in order for 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗑 to have a really good structure going further forward. So my buy zones in this, unfortunately, are potentially lower than that third wave high. Third wave on the daily, basically 2.953 to 3.562. Those are the areas at the moment, but possible to have those change. And if we do invalidate the third wave, it doesn't mean that we're not moving up. It just means that we're not having that particular structure going up. Okay, it just means that we're corrective structure up instead. So keep an eye on these things. But essentially, yeah, for the most part, that's kind of the area that I'm scoping out here for 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗑. And at the moment, it looks like we're in some kind of fourth wave move here. Again, very similar patterns that we've seen so many times before. This is something that also that gets thrown around quite a bit with different terminology. But I think for the most part, I mean, I don't know how we want to do it. I probably would say that we have this as a 5-wave structure, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then finish with 5, and then that could basically end our entire corrective move going on there. And again, just like I had with the others, we've got this triangular shaped pattern right in here, and you can kind of see these time and time again. They're pretty much, most altcoins are doing the same thing. There's a few exceptions, but for the most part, most of them are following the same patterns. And so what you're going to find is you're going to get a breakdown from here. And if you look at it like this, we have A, B, C, D, and then E. And then from there, you get a breakdown to finish the move, right? So if the E is at the top of your pattern, then you are moving on down. If the E is at the bottom, then you actually end up moving on up. But that's the breakdown for that one. So yeah, my buy zone's very much still there. It hasn't changed. Check out the dedicated video I did on 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗑 the other day. It's pretty much the same. We've just been trading sideways for a while, so nothing has actually changed. But let's jump into the next altcoin, as I've only got through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 so far. I did VeChain video this morning, so I'm not going to cover that one again, but let's jump into Harmony 1. Harmony 1, we actually, we just overextended that one there, so it looks like that was good, and we finished that. Again, we have this area of this top that's just not quite hitting where we want it to, right? So most of these are actually playing out quite nicely, and in here, again, we can track that as a 5-wave move, so that zigzag is complete. I would just literally go 1, 2, 3, 4, and final 5. So we have that zigzag pattern, but to keep it simple, I'll remove those and we can just see it as an ABC structure, which is the correct use of an ABC is a zigzag. We use ABC for any 3-wave move on the channel, but essentially, technically speaking, it is a zigzag pattern. Now, we actually started with a 5-wave move up, right? And we're waiting to see a 5-wave move up, and we haven't seen it yet. So what's very interesting or very odd about this is we're pulling back down, and this entire thing might be a zigzag pattern taking us higher, and we haven't actually seen that play out just yet. Okay, so there's a couple of things here that are really interesting. I think we probably, if that, I think it would be better if I placed the 5-wave structure like this, as a leading diagonal or something to that effect. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, and none of these are perfect based on the low liquidity that we currently have in the market. But essentially, we are, because we've got a 5-wave structure here. I think this is basically leading us in, which means all of this here is our B wave, and it's getting very, very frustrating with lots of kind of noise coming in here. But what if I were to map this out, right, from that high point to the low B and then basically a C, you end up with this correction here looking like it's coming to an end, and then we should be looking for that surge upwards. Now, if I take that high and I take that low, and I move the fib over to the current lows, this is indicating to us about 6.534. Okay, so I'll go ahead and I can remove this this little horizontal line, and I'll move it over to this new point here. So 6534. Okay, so that's kind of where we're aiming. I'm just going to remove the fib there, and I would expect it to be a 5-wave structure to get there, right? Because with the 5-wave structure that we had, that would actually then complete a zigzag pattern, 535. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for, kind of what I'm looking for. But once that comes in, I can now go ahead and actually just lower our 4th wave, okay, because all of this is all corrective 4th wave action. Okay, it means that we have our 5th wave target slightly different. Our 5th wave target is not as deep now as it once was because we didn't go as high. Okay, so when the 4th wave goes higher, then your 5th wave will go lower. They are related to each other. But here we are looking at 0.0205 and as high as potentially 2.695. Okay, so that's the buy zone for Harmony 1 that I have scoped out here. So let me just go ahead and just drop these on. And we'll just throw that here as well, and I'll just put that up to 9.5. So that's kind of the area for Harmony 1. That's kind of what we're looking at. We're looking for that pattern to move on up. Invalidation of the 5th wave going down lower is set here by this wave 1. It cannot go higher. This 4th wave should not go higher than 7.318. However, it can in a leading diagonal, but that's not really the structure of what we're looking at here. So we'll keep an eye on it, but for the most part, that's kind of what I'm looking at. And I think, we've got a couple of different options. We could actually probably say it's better placed like that. I think that would probably be better, which would actually move that invalidation point. Then we end up with that much better structure for wave 3 here with an overextended 3rd wave or 5th wave in the final move there. But yeah, so for the most part, I'll just focus in on that. 7.3 I don't think is that important, but I've marked it up anyway, as it is this particular wick. Should have been that particular wick there, but it's not, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I'll have to adjust that. In fact, I know what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove it because it's not making any sense at the point of recording this video, because we should be right on that wick right there. But nonetheless, we are talking about 6.534 as our high point here. That is where we are targeting, and that's what we're looking for. And then we should be looking down at 2.051 and 2.695 for accumulation on Harmony 1. So let's actually jump over to Chainlink next, right? Because Chainlink is an asset that I really like. It's highly volatile, but has some pretty good, I guess, levels of accumulation that could be had, right? And it's come down quite nicely. We have a pretty good structure coming down here, and what we're looking for here is to basically find out where our buy zones are. Now, we have moved down a little bit lower, and it's possible that we've started this 5th wave and we're just coming down into it, but I still think this is actually more corrective to the upside based on things that Bitcoin is doing. So I could be wrong on this. Obviously, these things are not an exact science when we haven't got that much liquidity, but I'm thinking that we still have this surge upwards a little bit here, and I'm targeting out this range, but this range could potentially change because we've got a new low just recently set. This actually now means that we might actually only have a 4th wave coming up to about 875 approximately. So 875 being our C wave, and then that being our 4th wave high. Now, when we do that, it means that our low points on our charts are also changing for the accumulation zones. So here what we are doing is we're basically saying we're looking for $4.16 on the low side and $4.96 on the higher side. Okay, so that's kind of the sweet spot for Chainlink based on the kind of current structure here. But it is possible that it's actually going to be lower than that. If we've already had the high and we're not going any higher, then actually what we're doing is we're talking about $4.40 to $5.07. Okay, but I still think that we've got that move up still to happen and then the pullback down. So we'll have to see and adjust accordingly. There's a couple of options, but I think if you're talking about moving or looking to accumulate Chainlink, then essentially I'd be looking at $5.10. Probably around that range to be safe and secure on it. But again, I'm not a financial advisor. I can't give you financial advice. It's just what I would do. I would always be looking to try and jump in earlier than potentially missing the lows. But let's jump into another one. Take a look at Solana. Solana is a coin that we don't tend to look at too much here. I'm going to just delete everything off the chart there so we get a good view of this. I don't look at it because it's not one that we're invested in anymore. It's got too much VC backing and that puts me off a bit. So I want to make sure that I'm not going to get dumped on by those whales, for example. But here we can see we've got pretty clear corrective move going on, right? But it is it is actually pretty impulsive in its nature, and we kind of see this here, right? So we kind of got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we can see that. Then we end up with the correction move, and then we've pulled all the way back down here. And again, this one's looking like it could be a zigzag, or it could be impulsive in its nature. But basically, you're looking at this kind of move on the daily, right? And right inside here, we have our corrective structure as well. So that's basically a 535, which is a correction type, but it is possible that this actually goes down lower, and it goes down into those points where it becomes a 53535. However, at the moment, considering the level of degree of this, I don't think that is likely, as in we've only just come down to the 1-to-1 ratio, okay, with our A wave, our B wave, and our C wave. And if I measure now the distance on our fourth wave, then our target zone is basically $28 to $33. And as a result of that, it doesn't really meet some of the requirements that I would expect. Now, depending on what literature you read on Elliott wave theory, some say it absolutely has to be 1.618 in order to be classed as a third wave move. Others say that there's a percentage chance, right, that it turns into an impulsive structure. If you hit the 1.236, I think you've got like a really small 1% chance. Might be a little bit higher than that. And then it increases the percentage terms, like 10%. Of the time when you only go to a 1.382, you become impulsive. And then, pretty much if you're hitting 1.618, I think it's like 80% impulsive. You very rarely reverse up and invalidate your structure once you hit the 1.618. And obviously, if you go to the higher levels, it's obvious that it's impulsive at that point. So just be aware that it's possible that you go impulsive here, but it's actually tracking more like a corrective zigzag pattern overall. So again, those are the zones, right? $28 to $33. That's kind of what I would be looking at. That would be the range that I would be focusing in on Solana. Now, guys, I've been going for about 32 minutes, so I'm not going to cover any more in this video. But if you want to see more of these kind of videos on altcoins in general, I mean, there's still a whole host of these that I haven't gone through. Let me know by hitting that like button. If you're new, subscribing to the channel, joining us in Discord, links in the description below, and comment below what altcoins you want me to cover in these types of videos. Guys, if you found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I appreciate that. I think you appreciate that too. And I'll catch you all in the next one.